Oh my god, we might be back. It might work now. Oh, hello friends. It works. Yeah, we got it. Okay, where were we? How many people are watching? Oh, 0. The whole thing's broken. No. Sorry, I wanted to reply more to the meat thing. I was doing a research thing about food when I wanted to look at different approaches to food and ways sort of food is used as ideology, and you know, I came into it with this mindset of like, I assumed that look at that nose, it's ugly, disgusting. Ugh. Yeah. Hope they know how many people are watching this disgusting face. But I went into it very much thinking of saying, sure, yeah, this other way of eating food is better or worse or understandable of culture or something. But instead I came out with just this deep understanding that meat is murder, and all Western mass production of meat is it's literally a murder factory. So like, I thought long and hard about how if I had to kill an animal to eat it, before I could eat any kind of meat anymore, I had to kill the animal. I would not eat it. I just couldn't do it. Especially not with animals that seem intelligent or interesting or sort of display emotions in an open way. You know, I could never even hurt a rabbit. I'd feel bad even just touching one because they just look so nervous all the time. Like, so to do a thing about, so I want to do a thing about meat, and that's just something I brought up. I don't know when the stream cut off, so I don't know if everyone saw my interesting thing about right-wing stuff and how it relates to the stuff. There we go. I'm going to refresh the thing because I think the stream chat itself is broken. Let me check this. Pop out chat. Does this work? Maybe it does. Who knows? Let's refresh this page and see what happens. It cut off when you said the. What are your thoughts on Warhammer? I don't like the game of Warhammer. I don't like the army painting stuff. I don't like the story of Warhammer. It's not very good. 40,000 struck me as like a fun and interesting parody type thing at one point in history, and stopped right away. And I lost interest. It's bad. I quite like the idea of Warhammer. I like I Divine Cybermancy, which is a very good first-person shooter on the Source engine, which was basically just, we don't have the rights to make Warhammer, so we made our own setting, and that was really fun. It was a good game, and I quite like what they did with it. But then they actually got the rights to make a Warhammer game, and the Warhammer game that they made was not very good. It failed to be the kind of interesting promise of the other one, so nah, it's just a shame. But I really, really like the Dawn of War RTS, the first one. I don't like the second or third one. Several people asked why I don't show how much I make on Patreon, and the answer for that is very, very simple. It's because I saw other people started doing that. I saw Lindsay, and I'm itching my back, and you can see me doing it. That's awful. I realised you can see me. I noticed that Nat and Lindsay had started doing it. I thought, well, surely they must have a good reason to do it, and I copied them. And I've never actually asked what their reason is. I assume it's good. I genuinely don't know. One thing that I'm glad has stopped is people see the amount of money that you make per video and go, he makes this much all the time. It's like, no, I make one video every 3 months. Cool it. Like, or, you know, I've made videos and just not charged for them because I didn't feel right about it. And I guess I'm very awkward about that sort of thing. So, like, I felt awkward about responding to that question, even though the answer is very straightforward. Someone else seemed to think it was a good idea, and I stole it from them. At some point, I'll ask them, but I feel awkward asking about that sort of thing, because it does feel weirdly personal. But that's me. Jordan Peterson made 80k, fucking hell. Yeah, so that's the main thing. I really like that I can not make something and no one has given me money. It's like, admit your feet were drawn by Rob Liefeld, that's why you won't show them, says Beatmaster. Yeah, you got me, that's it, that's nice. But, yeah, like, I like the idea that I can, like what I've done, not make a video for 3 months, and I'm not like on the hook. No one's funded me for 3 months to do nothing. I have worked on stuff in that time, and it's going to come out, and it was, but I do enjoy the sense of like, I have to actually make something. I dislike the idea of someone saying, of being like Jordan Peterson doesn't actually have to actually do anything, and he'll continue to make thousands and thousands of dollars on Patreon. And like, I don't want to ever be in that position. I want to be in a position where I always have to move forwards and have to actually make something. That really kind of, it fuels me, really. So I'll probably never change over to monthly or anything. I think Sean wants to. I think Natalie did. So, but I like the per video thing. It gives me a good kick in the arse. And also it means like this thing when I'm looking at it can't just be, oh, this will be a good thing for patrons. It's like this thing a thing that I feel like this many people would be okay with watching. Is this acceptable? And that keeps me on my toes. And it's made me very like worried. So I take a lot longer on videos than I should because I don't want to have to. Like I used to make videos that were short and just for like jokes. And now I think very, very hard about everything I make. And it slowed me down. It's prevented me from making certain projects. But I'm okay with it. Overall, it's a good thing. I have to have you turn down light on you. Bill Stanfield says, H1 guy, how do you feel about being cited in a paper that praises Shrek for its use of fairy tale tropes? Fine. Shrek is a perfectly acceptable, interesting, okay film. There's a good video essay in how Shrek is about something, and what happened to it. In fact, Big Joel made a good video at Shrek that you could go see. I'm glad that you like the Dark Souls Soup video. Arfuls, you and me both. You and me only. David motherfucking Bowie says, random question, what's your opinion on David Bowie? I just said Bowie and Bowie, so now everyone can be mad at me. But I haven't listened to enough of his music. I've always meant to and then never got around to it. And then he died and I felt like, I can't listen to his music now. I got really into Michael Jackson right before he died. And I'm really glad I did before, because otherwise I wouldn't have really bothered. I wouldn't have felt like I wanted to. But I'd like to. I really like David Bowie in The Man Who Fell to Earth. I think that performance was really affecting to me. I saw it like in the theatre, and it was like a whole thing. And yeah, I think I saw David Bowie's soundtrack to Metropolis, but I might be thinking of someone else's soundtrack to Metropolis, or to a different movie. I forgot what it was. Oh, what were you going to say about Ari Lon something alright in food? What she had said was, when she was talking about immigration, she said, the future of Europe seems very halal. And I felt like that perfectly encapsulates the way food is used as this kind of cipher for people who are bad and wrong. It's the same thing with religion. If you can take something that people perceive as core to their being and say, these people, they do it differently. The Jews, they have sex through a sheet, or they eat food that's been slightly different. Or the Muslims, they have to kill it, and it's got to be facing their pal Steve, or it's not. It's ignorance, and it knows it is. It's literally just saying, they're not like you. And it was a very, like, that was a good, like, oh, I get it now. Thanks for explaining exactly how racism works, Lauren. Very informative. But, like, yeah, how cultures approach food and other people's food is a really interesting thing to explore. And hopefully that comes up in the eventual videos I do about diet science and health, because health's important, food's important, and a lot of people don't actually know what halal means, or why it exists. And that's the thing I'd really love to explore. However, very, very conscious of the fact that while the Quran is probably the most interesting holy book I've read, and I've only read it through like 1.5 times, so I don't know it that well, I am very aware that my perception of it is going to be very different from someone who actually is of that religion or is of an ethnicity that's associated with that religion, and I want to talk to more people about that because I don't have the lived experience of that culture and that culture being seen that way, and that's something I want to have a better understanding of before I go anywhere near that. I want to reread Radical by how have I missed? I constantly forget his name. The guy who founded Quilliam, what's his name? Founded Majid Nawaz. I always get his name wrong. It embarrasses me every time his name slips out of my brain. It's awful. I did it on Polite Conversations as well with ContraPoints. But yeah, like his book was a really interesting read back when I read it, and I still think it is, even more so in retrospect when you look at his path politically and socially. He started in a place that's like really worth thinking about and makes a point, and then I feel like he just kind of backslid further and further, and it's like, no, but that experience that he had is worth reading about, and I want to talk to more people about that before I do anything remotely approaching like how religions talk about food. But I'd love to attend a Seder. I don't know. It feels a bit like tourism of a religion. I don't like the idea of doing that. For one, there was a trip to a Sikh temple when I was in primary school, and that was a really eye-opening thing for me. I thought Sikhism was really interesting growing up. Like it, I don't know. Sometimes you see a philosophy or approach to the world that's different from yours, and you go, "Oh, this works for some things," and you want to understand it more. And I've been lucky to have a lot of specific experiences where I'm like, "Oh, now I get this," and some of that's to do with food. I don't know. They gave us like Coke in the temple, in the Sikh temple. They had like this Coke, and they gave it to kids. It was nice. It was like the first fizzy drink I drank because my parents wouldn't let me. Was these people providing these kids. Tessie says, "You are a gorgeous man and need to do a video on the biases affecting self-reflection, construction of physical ideals based on sociocultural background and rate of comparison could be interesting." That's really cool, and you just use a lot of big words, and I'm not that clever. I'm sorry. Oh God, is that my self-reflection not working again? No, I've been very, very lucky to identify as not very intelligent, because it means I know that some people will know more things than me, and I know to stop and listen and use critical thinking to try and figure out who's right about something. People who see themselves as like, "Oh no, I'm a skeptic, free thinker, and I'm clever enough to know the truth," those people more easily delude themselves into knowing that they have an answer, or that they don't need to listen to someone who they could have done. So I've been very, very lucky to have... I not only didn't think I had imposter syndrome for years, I'm glad I had it. That's just... I've managed to be cucked by my own self-esteem issues, but still, like, yeah, I'm not yet ready to do philosophy tube level videos about mental health or ideals, things like that. Like, Ollie's work is so good, and he's like a year younger than me, and it's disgusting how good he is. And I want to see his. I want to see some of the videos he described that sort of go even further. So, but that's like an Ollie tier video that I'd have to work my way up to. But that's a really great idea. Thank you for suggesting it, Tessie. Tom Robinson, not Mr. Yaxley Lennon, I hope. Why aren't you in prison for mortgage fraud? Dear Mr. Bond Guy, if that is your real name, it is not. Just wanted to say your Bloodborne video is my personal left YouTube gateway. Wow. I'm continuously surprised that those videos work as a gateway, because there's nothing too political in any of some of the big political ones, but it does turn people onto it. They do sort of see the other videos. It's interesting that you can be politically indoctrinating purely by having like an opinion adjacent on a channel next to some stuff, and they go, "I want to see his other stuff. Oh, he's overtly political, and oh, now I think..." Like, that was completely accidental. I just made videos on topics I thought were interesting or entertaining or worth talking about, and then accidentally slid into being this guy who's deconverted some people. Like, I didn't do that. I make these videos for people who already believe me. I make these videos for me and two of my friends who I basically live my life trying to think of things that will make those two guys laugh. And it turns out neither of them watch my videos anymore. Neither of them can be bothered. Like they just, so. Ever read any long books that turn out not to be worth it at all? Most long books are like that, but I think more interesting are short books that feel like they're not worth the time. Like when you read one, it's like, oh, this is a little book of philosophy, and I bet this will be great. I've read a lot of self-help books that are actually shit. I see Rob Lido, I think his name is. He does a lot of short self-help books, and all of them are bad. I accidentally bought two of them. I was like, I'm going to buy two random self-help books and read them. It's going to be a thing. I might make a video about it. And I didn't. And I accidentally, randomly picking books, bought two by the same guy. And they're both basically the same book. Those are really annoying. They're worse than reading, like, The Fountainhead and being, well, that wasn't very good. Or reading Atlas Shrugged, which is, you're in for it. With the short one, you think, well, at least it'll be short. And then it's still disappointing. It's worse. There's a book called The Alchemist, which is about a kid who finds an alchemist and wants to learn the meaning of life. And it's short, and it's also one of the worst books I've ever read. I hate The Alchemist for a lot of reasons. It's terrible. I hate it so much. It's probably one of the few things I would describe as hate. It just instills something in me. It's just a pit. Check it out. Mikhail says, I bet you're more intelligent than me. No. Everything intelligent sounding I say, I probably stole from someone, or I thought of by accident and just remembered to spout. I'm not an intelligent person. I will happily admit that. Lunos Nocturne just gave me $5. They didn't even say anything. Wow. What a racket. David Bowie says, it's David motherfucking Bowie again. Oh my god, he came back. Not from the dead, I mean the person who previously sent a super chat has sent another one. Do I itch myself into having a weird rash? Oh no, it's just the light falling on it weird. He says, you saved me from the Sargon rabbit hole. I started hating Islam even though I was born in Pakistan. Led to self-hate because of my background. Thanks. That sounds like a lot to go through. Self-hatred can sometimes be a way of progressing yourself, but also most of the time it's probably not. But apparently my premium trial of Malwarebytes has expired. Better get on that. I'm just kidding. Malwarebytes is not worth it. I don't know. I just don't go to websites with viruses. I bet I get a virus next week and all my bank details are disclosed. But I'm happy to try to help people with stuff, but I don't do it on purpose because I feel like that's condescending. I think it's more useful to let people do what they want. Let people think for themselves about an issue and give them, just give them a thing to think about. And just go, hey, here's... there's a really funny bit in an old Doctor Who episode where David Tennant's doctor's like, I can destroy you, Prime Minister, with 8 words or something. And he walks over to a soldier and says, don't you think she looks tired? And I like to think that sometimes all people need to think a bit more clearly about something is one person going, this person is very silly. Because no one's going to stop and tell you they're silly unless they, severely hate themselves or have a sense of humour. Carl's never going to look at you and go, here's the things I don't know and why I can be wrong. That level of honesty would preclude him having bad opinions. He would cause him to develop, and he hasn't. So, basically, sometimes all a person needs to change their mind or go back and do the thinking that they maybe didn't do in the first place is just a little thing. And I'm happy to do that, but it's not a magic trick. You can do it easily. And what's fun is that it works. It works in only one direction. You can't really do that trick with a lot of it's very hard to indoctrinate someone out of something that's accurate. It takes a lot or a specific kind of person to be tricked into thinking the Earth is flat when they know the science. Meanwhile, you could take someone who doesn't know the science or is curious or a skeptic about it or who believes it, and you can with a couple of words get them to stop and go, oh, now I'm going to think more about this. We have 1337 viewers right now. That's the special number. Lunas Nocturne says, I tried to send, what's this with my last one? So here, I have another one. P.S. What are your thoughts on Fred Knudsen? he's down the rabbit hole, right? I've seen a couple of those. There's a lot of like, I don't like when people do recapping of historical internet events sometimes, because a lot of people have a because it's usually a recap of something that I can go check because the internet is forever, so it feels pointless, or it's just a rehash of something I already know, which isn't interesting. But with some people, it's a rehash, and they've added their own special, particular socio-political perspective to it, while presiding over it as if they're an accurate historian. There's a YouTuber called Internet Historian, whose videos fall in this hole sometimes of basically putting their own reading of those events in it, while trying to, be a historian, be unbiased and describe the events, and that's not good. But at the same time, just describing the events can be really boring. It's really hard to get that right. There's a ton of like Something Awful forum stories that are really fun that I'd love to see someone do a video on the history of, and it would be very hard to write that line between being an interesting person who has something to contribute to it and has analysed it, and just putting your thing in it, just going. It's a hard thing. So this isn't too much about Fred Knudsen specifically, but it's to do with that kind of style. So I just don't watch the videos because it makes me nervous. Bill Sanders says, "Mer Chrysler, do you read your followers' works?" I try to read things people send me. Someone sent me a response to the lady fan service video. They wrote a whole response to it on their like blog. And I still need to do a response to that. I really want to do like a Medium post about it because it seems really nice that they took the time to do that, to like take me seriously enough to just legitimately say, here's why I think this is wrong. And yeah, I try and read works, especially works that are critical of me, because as pretentious and up my own arse I clearly am, I do want to improve genuinely, so it's important to pay attention to those things. I can fixate if I get an overly negative criticism that I know is illegitimate, I know is silly, I know is based on whatever. It's they've fixated on something and gone, this is a thing you do that's bad, and I hate you for it, and I'm going to destroy you now, and I'm going to yell at you about it forever. I can't look away from it. I can't just go, well, this person's clearly being very, very silly, or they don't know what they're talking about anyway. I have to look at it and go, no, they must be onto something if they hate me this much, because I know that it's right to hate me, because that's how I felt about myself for so long. So I have to work very hard to not overly fixate on the pointlessly negative criticism, or the criticism that accuses me of, like, I don't want to say imaginary crimes. That feels like it's overstepping the mark. But there have been times when people have been like, here's a thing that I've decided you've done, and it's like, well, like there's times when I've been like ableist in my videos, or not meant to be, and given that impression, and I have a hard time with that, because it's like I know I didn't do it, or I know I didn't intend to, but I worry that I somehow did. It gets in your head. So like overly negative criticism is really hard for me to ignore, but it's at the very least, it's also quite hard to ignore useful criticism that's actually, positive criticism in a sense, not in the sense that it's nice, but in the sense that it's productive. So I try and be good with that. Sorry, I just responded to, do you watch any of your followers' works? And then I used specifically like works about me, which is really rude and condescending. So I apologize. But I try to. There's a bunch of people who've messaged me saying, yeah, I've wanted to make video essays because of you, here's what I've made. And each time I think, I want to take this really seriously, I want to be constructive. And I don't yet trust myself to give good advice to other people about their video essays sometimes. So I'd like to work my way around to it. There's someone in the chat right now who'd sent me one in a message, and I haven't watched it, and I haven't responded to it yet, and I want to. And maybe this year will be the year when I get really into that. I do want to do more videos about, here's some left people that have been completely ignored. Check out Thought Slime, Non-Compete, bunch of others. Like the Isle of Rangoon of YouTube left stuff is like, this is a really cool thing that is ignored. Check it out, and I want to do more of those. I want to do something like that, at least, like a list of recommendations. Mario K says, do you have a podcast? No. My streams are effectively a podcast, though, as you can see. Check me out on Twitch. I've chose to stream on Twitch, and I'm locked in now, so even though streaming on YouTube is probably better for my brand, or more people will see it or something, I do Twitch now. It's no going back. Stop donating because I want to go to bed. It's 2:40 a.m. Hey, I really appreciate your videos, says Jennifer Elder, especially the one on Lovecraft. Your take on how LGBT plus folks interact with his works was interesting and helped me process some stuff. Thank you. That's really lovely of you to say. I saw a very funny tweet that I think maybe they got from me, or was ascribed. Someone added me into it and said, hey, it's your video. Where Lovecraft, it was like a fake quote from Lovecraft that was like, so I hate all of these groups of people. Anyway, I wonder how bad it must be to be alienated by society. Like, it's basically, yeah, I think Lovecraft wrote something that's meaningful to people, even when it's specifically, like, against them. But yeah, some people, some of my more, like, out there critics said that was effectively me defending Lovecraft. So I recorded a clip of me saying I fucking think the guy's terrible. I think I literally said those words, and it wasn't enough, you know. Someone at the YouTube party actually said, I really liked the Lovecraft video. It's what's his name? I forgot his name. He's, I think, a producer on a cosplay thing. Like, he films cosplays at cons and stuff. Like, there's a whole side of YouTube that does that stuff. No. Wasn't them. What's the name? They do WoW lore videos. It's 2 people. Anyway, one of the 2 people I just mentioned, who I'm very bad at remembering names of, said, I really like that you've said he's shit. Like, it meant a lot that you actually said that. And I'm glad I said it. But anyway, apparently I'm too pro Lovecraft anyway. But yeah, it's meaningful to me because I had this, like, weird, like, reaction to it where I was clearly at a young age in a position to identify on some level with Lovecraft's racism, and instead I swung around to be like, I identify with this because it says something that even he doesn't realize he's saying, or maybe he does, and just, you know, some people have said, oh, Lovecraft was probably a closeted gay man. I think that's far too much to speculate about, and I also don't like repositioning homophobia as gay infighting, effectively. I think that's very foolish to do, even if it's true. Like, let's focus on the actual thing that's really bad in society, you know. But there we go, that's my thing. Isn't it true that Davis or his former compatriot on the alt-right have basically blacklisted him from their social circles? Well, yeah. When you act like such a buffoon, eventually people are like, you're making us look bad. We look, mate. No. That's Davis Sereni. Basically. Casey says, if you could implement degrowth on a global level, how far would you go? Pre-plastic, pre-industrial, pre-civ, and why? I want to go back to a pre-civ age. I don't like those games. They're silly. Gandhi's overpowered. No. I don't know. It's a very difficult question with a lot of different answers you could give. You know, I was one of those people who was vaguely, in this tiny way, optimistic when Brexit happened, when the vote passed. I thought, well, if this many people think it's going to be good, then maybe it will be. And maybe even if it's bad, there are positive upshots in the future. You know, I had this sort of beef. So, like, there's always, like, maybe there's a way this thing that seems bad is good. And I see the Luddite argument, where the Luddites didn't think, you know, they weren't anti-technology, they were anti the way technology was, who it benefited. So I'd like to maybe go back to a pre-industrial age so as to invent industry again in a way that was good for people, so we can build back up to where we are with a conscious knowledge of how to do it right this time. But that's easy to say, and that's just science fiction magic. It's not a particularly useful observation. But I'd like to not pre-industrial. I'd like to re-industrial, but better. I'd like to do capitalism again, but good this time. You know, not bad. Tessie says, did you watch Overly Sarcastic's video on Lovecraft? I don't think I have. I don't think I know that channel. Toasty Breath, good name. I'm going to get some toast before I go to bed. Says, I live in a very conservative town and my family's conservative. Your channel's very nice to see. Sometimes I feel like the only progressive lefty. That's a feeling you will get a lot, but you're not. There's more of you, and there are people who are even better than you, who you can learn from. I'm not one of them, but maybe sometime I might accidentally name drop one of the ones who's good. If you can, either online or as a person, go find a group of people you can hang out with in person. It's nice to hang out with. It's good. Community is good, and sometimes. And that's basically all, even if society is doomed at this point, you can have a nice time by being around people who you agree with on some topics. Don't feel the need to always be around people who are who you hate or who hate you just to try and convince them or learn something. Just try and have a nice time. There'll be people in your town who agree with you on some level. Seek them out and hang out and have a nice time. It's lovely. God, there's a guy who I feel like I'm pretty good friends with. In fact, he super chatted me money earlier, so thank you for that. Who I know, he recognised me, but I know him because he used to work in the co-op in the same town as me, and it's just incredibly. We obviously agree on a lot of topics and have a lot of interests, and I think I'm going to his birthday party in January. Nico Vidya says, in quotes, "Find yourself an echo chamber." Well, you understand what a friendship group is, right? You can make friends. It's good to make friends with people who you feel comfortable talking about certain topics because you generally agree on them. That's a productive thing to do, and it's fun. It took me a lot of time to learn that. I grew up thinking, no, I've got to be around people who I hate, who I disagree with, or all these things, so, I can have an argument and learn, or teach them and progress. Whereas, the one time I sat in a room with someone who was properly left-wing on the level I was, and they just said something I agreed with, that I hadn't really heard another person say in person before, I felt, this is what having friends is like. It was just this nice moment, and honestly, it's nice to do that, and there's nothing wrong with having at least a few people who you can do that with, and do that. And it wasn't Sean either, it was a friend of mine, who I'm going to see again, finally in February. It's been ages since we talked. He's been living in, Iceland or Norway or something for years, because his girlfriend, now fiance, lives there. But, yeah, my advice, he didn't really give advice, you ask for advice, but some people have said, I live with a lot of conservative people, what do I do? Find a group of friends who you feel like you can talk about these things and have a nice time. That's a good starting point. Thank you, TD, for just giving money for no reason. Flaming Toast just sent a message, which is a really good name. I'm trying to scroll through it now and I've missed it. The thing's disappeared. Flaming Toast. But coming after Toasty Breath was a funny name. Believe it or not, my intro to LiveTube was your Chrome extension video. Wow. That's interesting because I joked that it was a censorship add-on. So I've had people go, you're pro-censorship, when really, it's an app that allows people to opt out of a thing that they can't be bothered having to be recommended all the time. Even though I do watch them for work reasons, I know certain types of video I don't want to watch. And if I could flip a switch, there's you'll never be recommended any more videos about EVE Online or insert a thing here. It's well, that'd be nice. The ability to opt out of something you've decided isn't for you is a powerful and productive thing. It's lovely when an algorithm stops feeding you shit. So that was the thing I'd hoped it was for, and hopefully it did help a few people, and hopefully it was a funny video. That's all I really wanted to make with it. It's funny, I look back on that, I was ooh, that'll be a good attention-getting thing, that'll be a good drive to my channel, thinking about it. And I did the same thing I did a thing for, questions for anti-SJWs, I contributed a segment to that, and thought, oh, that'll be good. And I look back on everything I did with that in mind as stupid waste of time, I shouldn't have bothered, and now that's now on my, permanent record as a thing I did. And shouldn't have bothered, it was a waste. At the same time, you can't be awkward and nervous and unwilling to risk making a mistake, because then you never really do anything. This year, I don't think I made any bad videos that I wasn't a fan of this year. I'm pretty happy with the stuff I've made, but I made 4 things. I should be willing to make more mistakes. At least then I'll learn more things and have made more things, maybe. And maybe some of them will be good. Thank you, Not Haraka, for saying go to bed. I will actually go to bed soon, but first I'll answer all these questions. Stop doing super chats. I'm not going to read any more after the ones that are here now. What are your thoughts on Dark Souls 3? I'm partway through it. check me on Twitch TV. I'm playing through it now, and it's pretty good. I think it might be my least favorite Dark Souls game so far, but that's still a really high bar. I really like it a lot. I can't wait to play more of it. Check it out. Adam S says, "Are you gay? You have to answer." Well, I jokingly said at some point I'm half gay, because that's what being bi is, but I don't actually know what the metrics are for that. Yeah, I'm a really soft. I like, I'm a really soft bisexual person that I'm very much like. I don't bring it up, but sometimes it happens. It just kind of comes up. It's weird. I've known a lot of bi men now who have been the same way, where they're like, I never thought of myself as bi or gay. I just kind of slid into relationships and/or people, as a sort of a natural extension of knowing this person or being in this place, and that's like an interesting thing to discover, that it's not just like, oh, I knew I was gay and now I can identify as this and talk about this thing. It's just like a thing where you just go, oh no, I just happened to do this thing with a guy, or be interested, and like it's really nice to discover that it's not like, it's not a thing that. It's the same thing with straight people. Like, people don't go around saying, I'm being straight today. You just meet people who you like and stuff happens. And a lot of people, I think, people don't actively experience themselves as straight, in a way. It's sort of like that. Hopefully that's a useful answer to your kind of joke question. But Mayan Mystery 100 says, on the topic of games, I've always been curious what your thoughts on the Metroid series are. I like Metroid a lot. But I haven't played a lot of them still. And I want to replay the Primes, because I liked that. I played them as they came out and thought they were good. I liked 2 a lot. I preferred it to the others quite a lot, and I'm still not sure why, so I want to check that out and see if there's a reason why. But yeah, that's my thought on that. It's a series that I think it might be a bit overrated in like full retrospect, but like, they're good games. It's just I don't quite get the reverence, but they are good. I liked Metroid Fusion as well. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Patrick Tarrant. Dynamic Penguin says, I love you. I love you too. That's not a parasocial thing. I do really enjoy doing these things. It's really fun. 1,500 people are watching me at fucking nearly 3 a.m. on Christmas. I hope you're all having lives as productive as mine. I haven't even written my cards yet. I've wrapped my presents, but I haven't written the card to go on them, so I don't know who they're all for. I have to remember what I got for everyone, and like assign the names tags based on the shape. Oh jeez, I have to put a name tag on the Secret Santa, or he'll never know. No one will know who it's for. Oh jeez, the house that Jack built says, I know that name. Isn't that the name of a movie? Or are you a channel that I know that I should know, be able to recount their videos more on command? Either way. Hi. Breakfast McGull says, love your videos, man. What are your thoughts on the Patreon thing going on right now? Don't really know what that whole Patreon thing is, you mean? Are you referring to Carl being banned for being racist? Because if so, I'm not sure what needs to be said about it. How's the Jack built says, how soon can we expect the Flat Earth video? Soon? I kind of wanted to put it up tonight as a premiere, and then I did this instead because I realised I wasn't going to finish it in time. Pretty soon. I'm away. I come back from visiting my family on Boxing Day, and will do that soon. I don't think it'll be much longer than a couple of days. It's really close to being satisfied with. Smuggling Ina says, H-bomb, yeah, on eating ass. It depends on the ass, really, frankly. Merry Festivemas, lad, says Viria Sam 2. Your work is extremely important. No, it's not, but thank you. In this current climate, and you're uniquely talented. I can't read this, it's too nice. It makes me feel really nervous, but thank you for the wonderful comment. I think you meant it for someone else, though. Dan, thank you, Dan Rossi. Thank you, Spod. You mean I want to leave my boyfriend for your for your chest hair? Not you, just the chest hair. Happy holidays, Mr. Splimby. Please post. I will make more videos, and thank you. And I feel good now. Is it good? I don't know. I don't know what chest. I don't know if chest is good or not. I don't really get it. I occasionally shave it and then just stop looking at it. I'm sorry. I forget that for some people this is like a really intimate amount of clothes to wear, but I dress like this all day, every day. I think they're called singlets in Australia, or this. Like I work half the day in this, and then maybe I'll shower at like 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Put on clothes for like half an hour, and then like, well, I might as well just get into my bed clothes, and then I'm dressed like this until 8 a.m. and then go to sleep. But thank you, thank you for the compliment. Lindsay says I like you and think you are good. Thank you. And finally, this is the last one I'm going to read. Thank you again, by the way, for the nice comment. Sam too. That's lovely. I'm going to remember that. But I guess I try my best, so I really do appreciate that, and I hope to one day be able to see that a comment like that and go, yeah, I feel good. I think I managed to be that, but I'll just take the bloody compliment. Thank you. Steve Vincent says, have you seen many a True Nerds video on Fallout 3? Oh, also Michael Reppen says, chest hair is good, you're welcome. Thanks. I haven't seen the video in its entirety, but I would like to eventually watch it, and I bet I'm curious to see what they think. I was very negative about Fallout 3, so maybe there'll be a synthesis video in the future that's like in a middle ground between mine and I don't know. We'll see. Apparently someone says they're giving birth right now. Merry Christmas. I love you. Bleh, 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 bleh. Bleh.